And we are back once again. This is part 3 of Helldivers Stereotypes. We're going to be going over armor this time. Now, of course, obligatory disclaimer once again, stereotypes do not mean everyone. Do not harass anybody inside of the game who ends up wearing something that may be considered bad in this video, which probably shouldn't be an issue here because all of the Helldivers stereotypes I'm about to give you are more just so memes rather than actual things you should critique somebody on. But in either case, the thing still stands. Don't do it. Alright, let's get into it. Every Helldiver has used this armor of this type before because this is the armor that you start with in the beginning of the game. A newbie using this armor is to be expected. If a person level 20 or above is using this armor, however, they are likely using the Fortified Commando as a form of tank or the Light Gunner to get a little bit of extra speed while wearing medium armor. Anybody using this armor passive is wearing the Trailblazer, and that usually means you are never going to see this guy until they are there with you at extraction after clearing half the map. No one ever uses the armors with this passive. Like, seriously, why does the combat technician have scout and not something like engineering kit? Absolutely the passive that has the most armors that are connected to it. And to be frank, it is actually a pretty good passive considering explosive weaponry in this game is kind of a common occurrence. So, when you end up thinking of this armor, you could think of a million reasons why you would end up wearing this armor and a million different armors you could wear this with. So, the only stereotype I could come up with is this guy knows what he's doing, and he would end up going with a good armor passive to make sure that he actually survives the mission. There are two types of people who wear this passive. The type that either ends up bringing all of these sentries into one match and ends up being the absolute dominator when it comes to the king of defense, or brings all the barrages and just absolute mayhem. There are actually three types of divers that end up using the medkit armor, and that depends on if they're using the light, medium, or heavy armor variations. Let's go off with the easiest one. The medium Helldiver armor ends up using these stems just as a sort of backup to make sure that they're doing the absolute best they can at the mission. The light Helldiver usually ends up using all the stems for themselves, and are usually pretty cocky about who they end up bringing the stems to, most of the time because they can't be bothered to help the rest of the team. And the heavy armor ones tend to actually share the stems the most, and they would end up playing the support characters of the Helldiver Corps. You remember what I said about the light armor medkit divers usually being cocky about who they end up sharing all those resources with and how they end up devising the team to make sure they get a job done? Well, multiply that by 11 and you've got the Democracy Protects diver. The guy who ends up using this type of armor, especially the type of person who ends up having the Hero of the Federation or Champion of the People armors, are never going to shut up about how they end up having the superior armor just because they end up getting it from, either buying a pre-order or end up getting the Super Citizen Pass. Because they're obviously not going to be saying this, for example, with the anniversary armor or the Liberty Day armor. So, be cautionary when you end up seeing this diver in the field. Servo-assisted divers usually end up using this because they just want to use barrages all the time and can't be bothered to not aim at teammates, so they just hope that throwing it far enough behind enemy lines will help their survivability rates go up. Not only that, but also grenades end up helping their case a lot because, throwing a high explosive into the bug hole would actually be helpful when you don't have to stand 2 feet away from it. Surprising amount of creek divers also end up wearing the servo-assisted armor, probably just because of the war bond that it comes from.
Beep, beep, boop, maggot.
The person wearing a peak physique armor are either a jar dominator supremacist or a melee build supremacist. Either way, these guys are going to be absolute tryhards on the field. You You've already seen me shit on the flame divers enough. You could probably make an entire compilation of me saying weird things about the flame divers in the past 3 videos. But if you need a refresher, these guys are going to be bringing absolutely nothing but fire. Torture, Scorcher, Flamethrower, all of the napalm stratagems, and hey, even with the double-edged sickle finally being a weapon, and the flame armor ends up mitigating most of its downsides, this is not going to be any better. Advanced filtration, advanced filtration. You are never going to see a serious diver using advanced filtration. Why? Because gas damage doesn't even do much to begin with against the other divers. So if you do see somebody using advanced filtration, they are probably going to be using it for the looks and not for any of the bonuses it provides. That, or they're using a full gas build, in which case, why? Oh, don't you like it when you just start a trend? I mean, I'm not going to claim that I was the first one to make up Helldiver stereotypes, but now seeing that some of the other YouTubers are doing it, it honestly makes me feel inspired. But for now, this is going to be the end of Helldiver stereotypes until a couple more war bonds end up coming out and we can end up making a few more of these. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone. Later.